And specifically, we're going to work on building some duration with under while you are sitting on your chair. So one thing to note is getting your dog to go underneath something. There's not necessarily one specific correct way, especially if you are sitting on the object, because things get kind of wonky with how you're leading them under and how the dog is following directions. So, quick recap: when we ask a dog to under, we are giving them a pretty clear indication of, I want you to go under this thing here. As puppies go through their training, they go into prison and then they go potentially into training for a client, then they work up the skill more so of, I'm going to stand near something and say under, and the dog has to seek out the thing and crawl underneath it. We don't expect them to do that as puppies, because that's a big generalization. So when we get a dog to lay under something, we give the cue under, and then usually give them some kind of indication of, this is the thing I want you to crawl underneath. So when you are sitting on the chair, you could do that in a couple different ways. If my dog is on my left, let's say, I could use my left hand and sweep it under the chair to indicate to my dog, this is where I want you to go. I could also kind of contort myself and try to lead them with my right hand from the left side and help them, or maybe pull like this way, help them to go underneath the chair. So there's no specific way that I want you to do this right now, but you can sit on a chair. If you want to sit on one of the tables, you can. If you have a dog that likes to have a lot of space, you can use one of those. But for right now, what I want you to do is get your dog underneath the thing that you are sitting on, and we're going to work on keeping them there. So once they are underneath, I want you to keep rewarding them, or just telling them good dog, reaching down and petting them so that they're getting the information of, stay underneath that thing. So when you're ready, cue your dog to go underneath your chair, and then we want them to stay there. So once they get under there, if you need to, you can remind them to down. You can also get up off your chair if your dog is really confused and like, what are we doing? I'm not sure what you want.
I know, it's a lot smaller than what you're used to. Yes.
So once you got your dog under your chair, you can keep rewarding them. And think about the pace of how you're rewarding. So are you rewarding every 1 second? Can you reward every 2 seconds? Can you reward every 3 seconds? And right now we're just going to hold them in that position. If they move, that's okay. You can re-cue them to go back under. For a lot of puppies, going underneath things is very connected to their body awareness. So some dogs are on the smaller side and they think I couldn't possibly fit underneath there. And other dogs are very large and they want to squeeze themselves in every place possible. So that's not unusual if you have a dog that is like, no, I could never fit underneath that chair or that table or wherever it is. And that's usually just because of their body awareness and how comfortable they are squeezing into places. So if they're really refusing to get underneath something, you can find a different object to help build their confidence. Okay, so I see we've got all dogs underneath things. So now what I want you to do is little movements with your feet. So you can tap your feet. Basically, every time you move, you want to reward your dog for staying put. You don't have to tap continuously. You can just do a couple little feet taps. Anytime you move and your dog stays put, you want to say yes and reward them, or yes and pet them, so that they're getting the information of, I move, but you are staying still. So you can shuffle your feet a little bit, you can tap your feet.
Oh, no, that's, stop it. Down.
Good job.
Oh, where'd you go?
Good boy. Right there, good boy. Good boy.
Okay, if your dog is holding still when you've tapped your feet, I want you to lift one leg out and then bring your foot back down and reward the dog.
Good boy.
If they move, that's okay. Do a little bit of a smaller leg movement. So if that full leg swing out makes the dog get up,
Good boy, yes.
do just a halfway.
Good boy. Good boy, see, you can do this.
Alright, release your dogs, give them a breather for a second. It's a lot of self-control. We're gonna keep going with this in a moment. So every time when I call out a movement for you to make, when you move, as long as the dog stays put,
Good boy.
yes and reward, yes good dog, yes pet them, regardless of what body movement you make. So if I call something out and you go, my dog's gonna move if I do that, then